Hello everyone, my name is Mr. Mao and welcome to a build video. Vauban got a rework recently, it's been like a week and a half or something like that, and I think it is finally time for me to go over him. Obviously I got the heirloom skin, super worth it, absolutely love it, and his abilities got a lot more understandable. First, actually let's look at my build. I built him for health tanking on one of my builds, a Well of Life on another one, and this is just kind of a general shield build with expertise. I felt it was best to drop most of the survivability mods for him and just absolutely max out stats as much as possible. This build obviously has positive strength, but very, very high range. I didn't want to run negative efficiency because depending on the length of the mission, it becomes kind of a chore to upkeep his abilities. Of course, if you notice, I'm using Enduring Bastel. This is incredibly good, especially if you're not running super high duration. It's just super necessary for a lot of the builds I use. I run Enduring Bastel and Tesla Bank on all of my builds. Obviously, I'm not using any subsumes either, just to show off the abilities. Archon Stretch for energy regeneration. Yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. And let's go test it out. I'm using my favorite weapons here. Strun, Onos, I think the Thalos? Yeah, the Thalos. Just got a ribbon for it. And we're going to be looking at some of the numbers against Drekker Manic Bombards. I'm going to go and equip my pet real quick so I don't skew numbers. Drekker Manic Bombards do have some of the highest effective health in the entire game. And it makes it pretty easy to tell how much damage you're really doing against enemies. So, obviously, these guys are pretty chunky. Alright, first ability. Tesla Nervos. Attach to an enemy, shock them, and they get an icon above their head. When killed with Tesla Bank, they release an AoE shock damage. Pretty nice. Second ability. Little turret things. I forget the name of these. Mine layers. So you have the puncture mine layer that also grabs enemies. They can't be pulled down. Normally these enemies would be getting ragdolled, but Bombards are resistant to crowd control. Or the Manic Bombards. Secondary effect is holding it, you put down boost pads. Walk through the boost pad to get a damage and speed boost. Third ability, Photon Strike. No longer has a flashbang, which is pretty nice. Does damage based on, I think, enemy level, I want to say. But I'm not entirely sure on that. Either way, it's a pretty good ability. And then finally, his bread and butter, Bastel. Throw down a massive AoE. Staying inside the AoE will give you up to 1500 armor, drain enemies' armor too. I don't believe it drains shield. And will crowd control them. Obviously, Manic Bombards are resistant to crowd control, but with enough strength, you can still strip them fully before they become immune to it. When the duration runs out, it turns into a vortex, grouping all the enemies. Here's the fun part. Back to his first ability, Tesla Nervos. With Tesla Bank, you throw down a Tesla, jumps on an enemy, kill that enemy, and everyone dies. Since none of these enemies have damage reduction anymore, all their effective health values, because Tesla Bank now scales off of enemies' max health, it will always kill enemies near it that are weaker, well, that are the same health or weaker than itself. It is super, super, super nice. And because of this, Vauban has a ton of utility in mission. We can test it against some Orcan enemies. I'm not going to strip their armor just to... There we go. You can also throw it directly on an enemy if you'd like. You see, that does some pretty chunky damage against enemies. I really do think that Vauban, even though he didn't get massive buffs per se, he's just much more digestible as a frame. They really made him much more approachable and understandable, if that's the right word to use. I very much have been enjoying him in the recent days. And also, just to go over, this is just a generalized well build for Arcane Persistence. This does more than fine at level cap. Obviously, negative efficiency is a bit of a downside, but with Enduring Bastille, you won't be recasting it non-stop. I got rid of Photon Strike for Well of Life, because in my opinion, Tesla Nervos is just easier to use, and overall stronger. Also, Archon Stretch, free energy regen with Tesla Nervos. Pretty good. I won't be showing any footage of that right now, because I haven't been recording very much lately. And then we get to the build I use for health tanking. Molt Augmented, Arcane Blessing. I think I have Augmented on the other one. I do. But I dropped Expertise for Blessing, and just have Adaptation. And you do not need any health mods, because Blessing and Bastille together, you have a lot of health and a lot of damage resistance, especially with Adaptation. This is also where I will suggest having a pet. I've been using Apollo the Toost, named after Apollo, my original dog that I sold for a ton of sun debt bonds, or whatever, not debt bonds, the sun tokens. But a good way to heal is using Hunt Recovery on most pets, but I would say the Vulpaphilos are better, specifically the Panzer, for healing. So I have dog healing, and basically it will always be up a ton of armor from Bastille and Blessing. Obviously, I'll show that off here. I'm going to respawn the Manic Bombards. Oop, I did not turn on the AI. And if you notice, I also... Why are they... They all teleported over... Oh, yeah, they do teleport. So now they're no longer crowd controlled. I should give myself health. Okay, this might not be the best showcase of this, because my dog instantly went down. And maybe Bombards just are not... that might have been a bad example. But here's a better example. I'm not getting any health from my dog because my dog went down immediately. That is embarrassing. But you can throw down your ability. Enemies get crowd controlled. Obviously, in a actual survival or anything like that, it would be much more hectic. But as long as your dog doesn't go down instantly like mine did, it'll be way more uptime on healing. Also, having the max health really does help with survivability. And the reason I have Roar on this build specifically is so I can honestly abuse Mine Layer. That is the best way to explain it, because Mine Layer does benefit from, I believe it benefits from Roar. As far as I can tell, the numbers, so it does a ton of damage, because it already scales off of the enemy's max health. Yeah, nearly 500,000 damage on a Mine Layer hit is kinda nutty. So. And that's about it for the Vauban augment. If you don't have Vauban, I would heavily suggest getting him. He's a ton of fun. He's extremely strong, and also the normal Vauban is very easy to get coming from Nightwave. So as long as you have some extra credits floating around, I would just go ahead and buy them, especially considering Vauban Prime needs I think it was a ton of Cryotic and I want to say Nitane Extract? I think it was a ton of both. So he might not be the best option if you can just get normal Vauban first. Just play him if you haven't tried him. He's super, super good, super fun. Also, I didn't explain his passive. Enemies incapacitated, basically held in the air, or shocked by his Nervos, or I think ragdolled in any way, you deal a multiplicative 1.25 times damage. So 25% damage bonus, that is multiplicative with any other like damage bonuses. It is super, super strong, and I very much like it. Next, though, I want to show off the Dagath skin as a little bit of a closing note. Dagath, I don't know if I love the new skin. I don't like the new helmet, that's for sure, but I'll swap over to it real quick. They did change the color tints on it because I believe the metallics were coloring incorrectly. But it's all right. Do I still have? This is not. Oh my god, my builds are so messy right now. I'll just equip this one for now, considering she does have a new effect on her 4, her visual effect. Yeah, she shoots out the deluxe version of the horses, which, in my opinion, is pretty sick. But like, why bother with that when you never get to see the horses for the most part? Either way, I think she looks great. Finally, Dagath got a skin. I play a lot of Dagath. I think she was my 2nd or 3rd most play this year. Or last year, I should say. So we finally got something. You know, I can't complain about that by any means. I still don't love the helmet. I do prefer having her normal alternate helmet equipped. Or I would like to see what it looks like with the Thenogen skin, but I'm not about to spend $7 on that. So it's pretty good. Yeah, that's about it, I guess.